think we are live. Hey, everybody, we're back. Sorry for the 2 week hiatus. Week hiatus, right? No,
No,
2 weeks. Actually.
no, 1 week.
1 week.
We
Yeah.
skipped 1 week.
We skipped a week. It's been a while since we've done that, though. So
Oh yeah.
sorry, guys. Baseball gets in the way. We got, as you can see, guys, we got Bryan Roth on the show tonight talking current state of geocaching for 2023. I want to talk to him. Give him a call 808-468-7924. 808 got swag, and you could talk to Bryan himself. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
We're just we're gonna start in another minute here, guys, and then we'll be good to go. Jess, you heard all that, right? Phones are working.
Yeah, phones seem to be working.
Phones are working.
Hopefully,
The internet gods smiled upon us tonight. Apparently.
so far.
That is
Is,
good.
is that a new mug?
Mine?
Yeah.
Jesse had this. Jesse got this a long time ago. This is
Okay. I didn't. So I didn't reckon the kind of
The latte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the one that Shorty Knit's got's a little bit more traditional.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, that one's nice.
It's from the Signal Cafe. Earlier today, it had a double cappuccino in it, but now it's been it's
Since
needs
I
the
just
like
dishwasher.
that.
I just did dishes today, so like this was like
So
one of the few left,
I got my
and that
my
one
Oh,
trusty
nice.
Subaru.
very
Yeah.
few left.
I got this as the backup for
Oh,
Agua.
nice.
Yeah.
All right, what time is it? It is where's my clock? All right, 8:29. Let's start the show. Chad, you ready?
I'm ready.
Jess, you ready?
Sure.
All right, Bryan, we're gonna, if you've been on the show before, we gotta do our intro, we gotta do our ancillary
Go for it.
sponsors and stuff like that. I'm gonna put you on mute. I'll take you off the mute when I say Bryan, welcome to the show, then you'll know you're off mute. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Great. All right, guys, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
You wanna know how to find it. Seek it out when they hide it. You know it's in the bag when it's an easy grab. But come on, take a chance now. So go, geocache, geocache. And if you need help, we're right there in a flash. If you got a question, just call in and ask. Uncover the stash on the Geocaching Podcast. The Geocaching Podcast.
Welcome, everyone. It's Wednesday. It's 8:30, which means it is once again time for the Geocaching Podcast. My name is Scott Burks. We have our co-host Short, and it's in the next room.
Hello.
Hi, Jess. And please welcome to my virtual left, my other co-host, Chaz 427.
Howdy, y'all. It's time to talk geocaching with the head honcho.
That's right, guy. He didn't even say his name. I was totally expecting that. Tonight's episode 768, recorded live on May 24th, 2023, is the current state of geocaching with Bryan Roth. Phone lines are now open, guys. So give us a call, 808-468-7924. That's 808-GOT-SWAG. And for you international callers, you can call us free via the web at callinstudio.com/show/GCPC. But first, Chad, we got to talk about the Patreon.
Gotta pay those bills.
Gotta move through it. Guys, it costs a lot of money to make the show work. There's 2 ways you could help us out. First one, you can go to PayPal. That's PayPal.me/the Geocaching Podcast. You make that one-time donation. Don't care what it is. Go straight to the bills. Or you can join Patreon. Chad, Patreon, you get extra audio, extra video, only available to our Patreon members. You get pad tag stickers and coins and buttons and pins and all that good stuff. You get Patreon-only shows. You get the end of the year Patreon giveaway show. We just give stuff away. Stuff
Lots of
just
stuff.
like Groundspeak sends us, or geocaching.com headquarters, sends us. Well, we purchase it and then we give it away. So, guys, you want to be part of that. You can go the way you can join this. You go to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/the Geocaching Podcast.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Cachly. Cachly is an advanced geocaching app for iOS. It features powerful online and offline features, including filtered searches, offline maps, and offline saving of caches. Cachly has hundreds of advanced features that will make your geocaching experience just that much better. Get more info at cachly.com. That's CACHLY.com.
Tonight, we're also sponsored by Logwork. Logwork are the creators of the fantastic logbook, made with genuine write-in-the-rain paper. The logbook designed for the micro containers of the present and future, geared towards the hider who would rather go cache than do cache maintenance. Find them at logwork.com. That's LOGWERK.com.
It's also brought to you by FTF Geocacher Magazine. FTF Geocacher is the magazine for geocachers written by geocachers. With 6 issues a year, FTF offers practical advice, hints and tips, cacher bios and milestones, geocaching events, trail tales, and all things geo-related. Find them at ftfgeocacher.com.
And by the Max Suds Body Company. Max Suds Body Company makes handmade bath and body products from all natural oils and butters. Items such as Poison Be Gone soap, itch spray, and 2-cent choices of bug spray are all great for outdoor enthusiasts like geocachers. At Max Suds Body, we have you covered from head to toe. Find them at maxsudsbody.com. That's MACSUDSBODY.com.
And by Practical Geocaching. Practical Geocaching sells utility items for geocaching. Our items are made in the USA, and we always provide free shipping. Find them at practicalgeocaching.com. That's PRACTICAL, geocaching.com.
And by Arted Crafted. Arted Crafted creates unique geocaching themed tees and custom designs for you or your geocaching group, with adult sizes ranging from small to 5XL. If you have an idea for a shirt design and cannot find it, you've gone to the right place. Please give them the opportunity to show you how they can enhance your caching experience with your own custom design. Visit them at artedcrafted.com. That's ARTEDCRAFTED.com.
And by pattags.com for all your swag and tag needs. Visit our website to get creative, trade log tags, or to purchase your own personalized pat tags. With over 48,000 tags to collect, pattags.com is everything you need to start your pat tag obsession. Visit them at pattags.com. That's PATHTAGS.com.
You went silent through 2/3 of that there, Chad. And by Geocaching Adventures LLC. You did. Geocaching Adventures is a full-service travel agency specializing in creating the ultimate worldwide geocaching adventures for cachers and non-cachers alike. What could be better than having a geocaching bucket list vacation all planned and led by a traveling expert? Learn more by visiting them at geocachingadventuresllc.com. That's geocachingadventuresllc.com.
And finally, by GeoGo. Go caching with GeoGo, the geocaching app for Android that includes a Where I Go player, trackable scanner, trackable scanner, companion watch app, and county finds database. If you're an advanced geocacher, GeoGo helps with powerful features like nearby cache notifications, optimized routes, offline mode, bulk TB logging, and much more. Learn more by visiting them at geogo.com. That's GEOOH-geo.com.
You know, we've done like 768 of these. You think we'd know this stuff by now?
No,
Yeah.
I still have to read it every single
This is what
time.
happens when you take a week off. This is what happens when you take a week off. And as always, Chad, you can find links to our sponsors on our website or
in our show notes.
our show notes. Thank you, Chad. Guys, phone lines are open. Brian, I'm going to bring you in because we got Bryan Roth. We got emails though, but I'm going to bring in Brian. Hello, Brian. Let me bring you in. I'm going to unmute you. Hello, Brian. How you doing, buddy? Brian Roth.
I'm doing well. Good evening, everybody.
So we do have some email, and I'm gonna. This is probably gonna start the show, but I'm gonna start with this because it's an email. It has to do. It's not more of a question, but it's more of a comment, which made me smile when I got it. Made me laugh. So we do have some mail. It's from Ellen. I can never say this guy's name. Ellen N. Railroad. Okay. He says, I have a heads up on the legacy pricing of premium membership with which locks in premium membership prices if you are a premium member by June 7th, 2023, and keep up your membership. Make sure that your payment information is up to date. My card info was expired and I didn't get a notice. I just saw that a premium feature had stopped working this morning. Luckily, I wasn't taking a break from caching because I could have lost this benefit. Now, I have it set up to auto pay. And not only that, but I have it set up to auto pay my PayPal because my PayPal pulls directly from my checking account. So I have it just set up for my PayPal, so it'll always go through no matter what.
So if your card's expired, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's my PayPal.
That's a good tip.
Brian, is this true? Do you not give an email if the payment doesn't go through? Do you know? I'm putting you on the spot, just like that.
That's a great question. I don't know. I think there's a bunch of different ways that premium memberships get paid for. So there's the app store, so iOS and Android. There's our geocaching website, which could be a credit card and PayPal. And I think it probably depends on which method you're using in order to find out if you get if you get notification.
Fair answer. Good answer.
Yeah, I actually don't know. I think it depends on how they're doing it. If they're doing it through the website, I'd like to think that if it fails, we would give some sort of notice. That would seem like a pretty good business practice, but I just don't know offhand.
In your defense, I have in the past. I have a year. I mean, it's been PayPal for years, but before it was PayPal, I have gotten a notice saying your premium is expiring or expired. I have gotten that. I can't remember if it was expiring or expired, but I know I have previously gotten that.
I think now everybody should get some type of notice before a renewal, and I think that that's only with annual. But again, there's so much nuance to it, just because of all the different platform integrations.
Sure.
Yeah, I actually, for each individual one, I couldn't tell you, but I could probably find out, although not at this point in the evening,
of course not.
Generally, without really bothering somebody.
Mike Thiesenvitz says, I got an email when my auto pay tried to pay with an expired card. It gave me 30 days to update it. Well, there you go.
That's cool. One thing to note just about the price increase is that, aside from the way we've done it, and I'm happy to talk about that or not if folks are interested, but one of the things that we do have in place is a grace period. It's a grace period both for annual and monthly memberships. And so if for some reason your membership expires, as long as you renew within 30 days, you won't be affected by the price increase. You will retain the legacy pricing. So we don't want anybody to sort of lose out and feel like, it's a, be disappointed. One of the things we say here, maybe I've said it before, but like, we're in the entertainment business, not the disappointment business. And so it's so we try to be really just flexible there. And I guess what that means in a way is, like, if you have a monthly membership and you want to take, every other month off, close to that, you could take 28 days and come back and get, retain that legacy pricing if you want. The other thing that I do have to clarify, just because we've been asked before, and I think it's helpful, is, we are changing the price as of, end of day, June 6th. So if anybody wants to, lock in the current price, that would be great, of course. But at the same time, folks have said, like, is this forever? Like, does this mean I get this price forever? And I know in the very early days, with charter members, like Jeremy went into the forums and said, like, hey, charter membership, you get to keep this price forever. Realistically, we have no plans to raise the price further. This is the first time we've done something like this in 22 years. I mean,
it's always
20 years.
Since, always.
It's always been the same price. It has. And, I think if it was easy to keep that price, we wouldn't even be changing it. And it's really not out of urgency. So I don't think anybody needs to be concerned, but it's really more like, we've seen inflation, we've seen the economy, the cost of things relative to where they were 20 years ago, there's been quite an increase. And so what we're looking at is, we're fine this year, we're fine next year, realistically, all things being the same. But, what happens if this continues? Can we set ourselves up for future success? And, the goal is to make sure that the game is around, the game and the platform are around for our children, or our grandchildren, or great grandchildren, and all that. And so just trying to be prudent when it comes to business. So one of the things that I've been asked to clarify is, like, hey, as much as we don't have any plans to change it, I can't say, like, if you're at $30, you're at $30 forever. I wouldn't expect a price change anytime in the near to mid-term. But, if business conditions change drastically, we may have to do that. I will tell you that there is nobody here, including myself, that really wants to do a price increase ever again. And what's interesting is, June 7th is effectively the day that it changes. We don't really know what to expect. What's going to happen? Will people say, oh my goodness, this is way too expensive? Or will people say, wow, this is still pretty reasonable? And, we're going to find out what effect it has on the business. And of course, premium memberships being a very significant percentage of our overall revenue, it's kind of an important change. So I think what we were able to do by making the change, getting, I can't even begin to tell you like how much work has had to take place over here, just doing all the systems and integration cross-platform with Apple and iOS and the website and all the messaging for the different platforms, all the notifications on the website, notifications in the mobile app. It's something that I said to the team in our company meeting, which was almost exactly a month ago, because we have another one tomorrow and they're monthly. I just said, like, we put a challenge out to the company and it was really, really cool. We set a deadline, and just to see how, we've got a bunch of really good people working here, to begin with, but just to see how everybody responded and like collaborated and worked together and did this whole thing with care, and like all the decision making that went into it, even saying to premium members like, hey, we're doing a price increase, but your price isn't going to change, so long as you remain subscribed, is I think we're proud to say that it's a unique approach. Because I don't know about you guys, but feels like every 6 months, like Netflix is raising my price and YouTube TV and like everybody else. And it's like, they're not like, we're raising the price, but since you've been a loyal Netflix member, we're going to keep your price the same. They're like, have a nice day. Here's your new price, take it or leave it. Sure. And what was really nice was being over at the mega event 2 weeks ago in France. We really heard from a lot of people who made a point to come up and say to us like, hey, it really meant something to me that you're not changing our price. And that was the message that we wanted to send, is like, look, we wouldn't be here if not for the support of premium members. And so, if this was a dire situation, maybe it would be a little bit different, but we had the luxury of being able to show our loyalty to all the people around the world who have shown loyalty to us and, kept this whole thing running. So it's kind of cool.
Bryan, I've been caching for 15 years. Okay. 15 years of my adult life I've been caching. The price is never raised.
Right.
So if you wanted to raise it $10, I didn't care. Honestly, I didn't.
Yeah,
my wife
didn't bother me.
It hasn't raised in 15 years. It's okay to go $10. It's absolutely.
That being said, we appreciate it.
We definitely appreciate it, but
yeah, no, and I'll say this, and I've said this before, is that and it's more than just the pricing, but my view on geocaching.com as a whole has always been that you guys, everything that you do seems to be reflective of what your customers want.
Right.
I mean, it is a community, and I think it really brings everybody back together, knowing that you're doing things with us in mind, and you listen to our ideas and our suggestions, and are constantly striving to improve. And so we appreciate that.
It's great to hear. I would love to say that we're always right in terms of what people want and how they feel. Like, I'm glad it feels that way.
You can't please everyone.
I mean, you cannot please everyone. And really, like, here in the United States, for example, like, our economy is pretty strong versus, so many countries in the world. And so for a lot of countries, even $30 is kind of out of range. And so just trying to blame Burks, that's funny, to try to be sensitive to that as well is something that's important. Definitely. And I think, going forward, we're gonna look at all of that and say, how do we do right by everybody? I mean, that's the goal. This is we're in a really interesting position as a company. Yes, we're a for-profit company, but we recognize that the most important relationship that we have as a company is with the geocaching community. And one of the things we have on at least a couple of the walls here is a sign that says, like, we are geocachers. And so, this affects not just us, but our friends, our local community, the community abroad. And I think part of that is like, just doing right by people is a pretty good way to do business. It doesn't always work, and not everybody's going to be happy with us. But if we stick to our mission of, trying to be a good company, working to get people outside, trying to have a positive impact on people's lives around the world, well, then that it really helps with decision making. And I think that there's plenty of companies out there that are, in a position where they're like, how can we extract the maximum amount of revenue from each customer so that we can, please our shareholders and things like that. And thankfully, we don't have to look at it that way. We can look at it like, hey, we're taking good care of the lackeys. It's very important to us to have a good work environment and be a good, employer from a technical standpoint. But we don't even get to do that unless people feel like we're doing a good job serving them. At the end of the day, there's a lot of forms of recreation. Geocaching is awesome. But if we were trying to take advantage of people, I don't think this game would be what it is. I don't think the community would be what it is. And maybe somebody else would just step in and say, look, geocaching.com is a bunch of jerks, and let's go find an alternative. And so, we appreciate the loyalty of the community. We get to be out there and we get to see what's happening in the world thanks to geocaching and bringing people together and creating relationships and fun and adventures and all that. And we're just happy to be a part of it. And so so much of our decision making relates to how do we continue to earn the right to be in the role that we are in. And so it's good to hear that a lot of people think we're doing right by that. There's certainly, of course, we get to hear from people who vehemently disagree with that, and you can't please everybody, despite making a genuine effort to do it.
Absolutely,
Sure.
I agree. We've got a call on the line. We've got who is this? Connecticut on the line. We all know who that is. Connecticut. Hello, Connecticut. It's got to be Skip.
Good evening, folks.
It is Skip.
Right.
FF Skippy on the call, Brian.
Hello, Connecticut.
Good evening. Hi, Brian. Thanks for coming on GCPC and taking talks so much.
It's my pleasure.
I have a question about Adventure Labs.
Great.
In the app, you can see them on the maps, but online you can't see the Adventure Labs on the maps. I'm an old school cacher. I started in 2005, and I use the online maps extensively for planning caching trips. Is there any way of getting the Adventure Labs to show up on the online maps?
There is certainly a way to do it. I think what it really comes down to, it's a matter of all of the things that we want to do and where it falls in the list of priorities. And so, I can tell you, straight up, it's not on the near-term roadmap. It's just not. There is some exciting stuff on the near-term roadmap that we believe will, delight the community and active players and make the website better to use and easier to use and things like that. We call it like dots on the map, as sort of shorthand here, but there's no current plan to add the dots to the geocaching map. It's actually, well, to be fair, this is the first time that I've heard the request. I'm sure you're not alone.
Really?
Yeah, really.
That's
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting feedback from certain channels or whatever, but I haven't heard that before. I could certainly bring it back with me. I'm actually gonna just make a quick note here. Dots on web. I can bring it back to the team as something to consider for a future project. I know that we've got an extensive roadmap on the web for the web team right now. And so the relative priority of it, I would say, given some of the stuff that I know about, it's probably not going to be too high. One thing I guess I'd be interested in knowing, there are some API partners out there that have access to our Adventure Lab API, and I'm wondering if there's another third-party app that might do something that would make it easier for you to do your planning. I know of planning apps like Cache Tour, for example, who's an API partner, and I understand it's a pretty robust planning tool. Offhand, I don't know if they have Adventure Lab integration at this point. I know they would have access to the API if they wanted. I think there are some other tools out there that might work. So even if we don't build it in the near term, that might not be your only shot of getting it.
Yes, I know it's available on Cashly, and I think it's available on CGO and a few of the others, as well as the
GeoGo.
Ground Peak app. But like, it's
You
just
use the
difficult
web.
when you're planning a trip, because I do a lot of out-of-state trip planning, so I have to scroll the Adventure Lab app to check the area I'm going to, which can also be a pain. I don't know if there's a way that they can make it that you put in a city and state like you can on the geocaching app.
I have good news for you.
And the
I'm
map-
probably not even. I'm not even supposed to say this, I would imagine. But we will be in the not too distant future adding a location search to the Adventure Lab application.
There you go.
Because
Ooh.
I have the same trouble. Like if I travel somewhat frequently, and when I go to a new place, like I don't know, I grew up in New York, and I think growing up in New York, because the state is so odd shaped, I wasn't very good at geography. I had a friend that I used to make fun of, which I would say like, hey, of course you're good at knowing which direction you're facing. You grew up in Colorado. It's like a square state. Like you always know where north, south, east, and west is. Growing up on Long Island, you never know which direction you're facing. And so when I have to pan the map to a city, that I think I'm traveling to, panning and zooming and trying to find, I don't want to call out somebody's city and insult anybody, but like, I'm just not good at it. And so we've been having conversations here for a while, just saying like, there are people who want to travel and do adventures. How can we give them a tool to search for a particular location? So hopefully that will help. In terms of having it on the website, that's not coming soon, just realistically.
Sorry.
So-
By the
So-
way, I'm from Connecticut, and I ran into you at your goalie event 2 years ago, and thank you for at least that update in the Adventure Lab app. That will help
You're
some.
welcome. It's coming relatively soon. I would say I don't remember the exact date, but I would say within the next couple months tops. And my sister lives in Connecticut, and yeah, it's a beautiful state. I like visiting there. And growing up in New York, we used to go up to Hartford to see like U2 played up there, and a couple of other fun bands. It's a really lovely place.
All right. Thanks, Skip. Be well, buddy.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
Skip.
you.
Bye.
Good night.
Okay, Bryan.
Yes.
Some listeners shot us an email. Says, any possibility of more virtual rewards?
Yes.
Oh,
There's a
Hey, I
possibility.
had that question.
oh, sorry, Jay.
What's the chance of the rest of us getting a virtual
Yeah.
reward? That's
the only one on this show who hasn't got one. So
Oh, well, I don't know if it makes you feel any better, but I haven't gotten one either. And even for the lackeys, like we're playing by the same rules. And so, when the virtual rewards go out and you're not on the list, it's like, but I work here. But we don't play that way. And so it's, we suffer like the rest of folks that didn't get them, or at least some of us suffer and some of us get really
and I'm
lucky.
assuming if I got one, I'm not getting another one, right? If I got one, I'm not going to get a second one.
If you got one, I would say the odds, and here's what I'll say is it's something that we are looking at as something that we can do from time to time. I wouldn't say, it's not happening anytime soon. We have other stuff happening, but is it a possibility? It's certainly a possibility. And every time we decide to do it, we come up with a format for awarding them that, either we try and incentivize, good cash hiding, for example, or we just want to make sure there's like geographic diversity. So they used to mostly be in the United States, and so then we put them in different places in the world. So there's a lot of factors that we consider. I can tell you that one of those factors is always who sort of has stood out in a way that we think is, positive for the game, but has not received one. And I would say that those people will certainly have a chance to do it when we do it in the future. I would say like if and when we do it in the future, but I'm pretty confident that it's a relative certainty that we will do something. I just don't know specifically what it is or how soon it's coming.
In the chat room, Thomas Foley says, "How about a virtual award for those who reach a milestone, such as 10,000?" I say 10,000 because it gives someone for something for a cash to look forward to. So as an incentive, kind of like that. I don't know, just
Yeah, I
But,
mean, it's
but if it's 10,000 fines and has never hidden the cash, you know.
Okay, so virtual awards still on the table. Just out of curiosity, I think we ran the numbers once. One of our listeners did. How many given out to how many were created? Do you have those numbers off the top of your head? You may not.
there's very few numbers that I have off the top of my head, quite honestly, and that's it's not one of them. I do think that I've seen the numbers really in the last year, and I could be wrong about this, but I think it was one of the reasons that we allowed them to be adoptable was that people would say like, "Hey, I see this person isn't really active and they got one, maybe I'll reach out to them and ask." And I know that there have been people that were successful in asking, less active players or people who just weren't using them. So I don't really know the number. There were certainly people that did not use them, which is unfortunate given how many people really wanted one and
I know.
wanted to use it.
Very amazing that you
But
give
that's-
it away.
I think
one
it was
of
a
the
pretty
cool-
high percentage that actually got utilized. If
Oh,
I
sure.
recall,
I would hope
if I
so.
recall.
I would imagine so, and I would hope so. I'll tell
Really?
you, when we were in France last week, 2 weeks ago, one of the things we did was one of our dear friends who happens to be a community volunteer reviewer sent us a list of places to see in Paris, and the list was just GC codes for virtuals. And
Right.
and it was like, oh, this one's at, of course, the top of the
Arc
Eiffel
de
Tower. This
Triomphe.
one is Arc de Triomphe. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
we ended up I have a lot of drafts that I have to log, but we spent so much time using geocaching as a really cool way to identify the places that we wanted to go, many of which were kind of on the normal tourist list, and then some of
Right.
them were like for geocaching, sort of those secret spots that you might not otherwise know about. So
Right.
it was really cool to get to travel like that, even for a few vacation days with Heidi.
Sweet.
Jess, you have a comment?
No, I was trying to find it. I'm pretty sure we talked about it on the show, and I thought that it was in January, but it's not in our notes.
No.
But I know we talked about those numbers.
Oh, we did.
Mhm.
I wonder if Project GC has them. It's a possibility.
I pulled them from somewhere. I did have them in the notes.
No, Scott had them. Scott, GSM times 2 had the numbers. He figured it out. He's crazy man.
And the audience today?
I don't know if he's out
I
there
don't
today.
see him.
I have no idea.
I
haven't
haven't
seen
seen
him.
them.
Okay, so I'm gonna change course here. So, Brian, I want you to do me a favor if you can. Do you have your phone on you?
Sure do.
Can you do me a favor and open up your geocaching app? Not Cashly. I hope you don't. I hope you have the geocaching app on your phone.
I have Cashly also, for what it's worth, but I've got my app. Yep.
Okay, I want you to open up your app, sir. Okay, I want you to find any cache you have not found.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I want you to read me what the 2 green buttons say.
The 2 green buttons, like in the tray, like where it has the name.
Like right here. Oh, hold on. Sorry, guys. You see those 2? What do those 2 green buttons say for you?
Oh, the navigate and log cache. Mine say the same as yours. Navigate and log cache.
Okay. I've had people say go and log, navigate and log, start and post log, start and sign. There's there's a ton of different variations of that. Is that an A/B test or is that?
Yeah, it's probably more than it's probably an ABCD.
I know. Like
In fact, I just got briefed on the results of that.
Did you really?
Yeah, we did.
A listener brought it up to us on one of our shows. I'm like, I had no idea. Like, I never realized that before.
There's another A/B test that's going, and for what it's worth, like we're always testing stuff. We want to know, like, particularly for players like us. We've been caching for a long time. Like, how to do it. But for brand new users who come into the app, we're measuring like Are they going out? Are they getting close to a cache? Are they logging the cache? Are they clicking the navigate button? Like, we're trying to get sort of the quantitative data to understand, like, how are people using this and how can we improve the experience, both from a like, hey, they understand what it is they have to do, but also they understand it in a way that has them inclined to do it. Because this is not a casual game that you can play on your couch. And so we get a lot of people hearing about geocaching and downloading the app, and so many people will open it up and you look at the map and you see the dots and it's like, oh, like, what kind of game is this? I haven't heard, unless they heard about it from somebody else, like, I wonder what this is, and you click on it and it's like, navigate, like, I got to get up, like, I have to leave my house, and it's like, well, let's actually, and then they can go out and it's like, all right, I'm at this place, like, I don't see a big treasure box, and it's like, well, we need to do a better job of helping people understand, like, setting expectations, putting the right tools in front of them at the right time. So there's always testing going on. There's testing going on the web. There's testing going on both mobile apps. There's testing going on in Adventure Lab also. And just as an example, there's something we're testing in the iOS app right now. It just started 2 days ago. It's not a monumental test or anything like that, but it was something that I was part of the discussion for having this relatively small thing built. And everybody's like, hey, it's out, like, let us know what you think, whatever. And I'm on the side of the test that doesn't even get to see it. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess, hopefully the test works so that it comes out and I can actually use it, but it's not quite there yet. So people will see variations from time to time. And it's just all a part of us trying to learn and improve the service and improve sort of the drive more engagement with geocaching, get more people outside. It's all done consistent with the mission that we have as a company. And so from time to time, like, it's interesting because you could get two people standing right next to each other looking at two different things, and that's always
that's funny. Yeah, that's what happened. They were at an event and everybody had two different buttons, and
everybody did. Yeah,
it was really funny. Yeah, like, just I'm a UX designer, so I get it. That's A/B testing, but just making sure, like, I'm assuming that's what it was.
Like, yeah, it's A/B testing, and I think in rare cases you also have kind of versioning. I don't know about you guys, but like, I upgrade everything on my phone like as often as I possibly can, because as working at a development company, like, you see sometimes, like, you want to upgrade or you're playing with something that might be broken or subpar, or you're missing out on the new feature. Not everybody's like that. We have people that are using versions that are quite a bit old, let's say on the verge of unsupportedness. And then it's like, all right, well, we can't force people to upgrade without, doing stuff that's like draconian, like, you will not be able to use this app unless you upgrade. We don't generally do that. But some of those people are going to have an experience that could be vastly different than whatever the latest version looks like.
Definitely.
Anybody want to talk to Bryan? Give us a call, 808-468-7924. Jess, you got a question for him in your show notes.
Well, I want to go back to Adventure Labs just for a second, because I actually did have this in my notes as something I wanted to talk about. I want to know, how's it going? What are some of the struggles that you guys have had with it, issues that you're seeing with them, and what's next? You talked a little bit about, upcoming features on the app. And I really want to know, and I've asked this question before, have people's find counts just like monumentally spiked since introducing Adventure Labs? Because they're so close together, they're so easy to find. I feel like, for us anyway, I think I have found, like, especially around megas, I probably have found more Adventure Labs than traditionals.
So there was a lot of questions in there.
Yep.
I'll try and answer as many as I can, and feel free to circle back to one if I miss it. I would say that it's definitely had an effect on people's find counts. There's folks out there who are really, really active with Adventure Lab. They're traveling to do Adventure Labs. They're clearing out their area, and like in major cities throughout the United States and Europe, there are a lot of Adventure Labs. I was in Prague for the Giga last year. And I remember, you always do this thing as a geocacher, like, oh, I wonder what's around here. And I opened it and I'm like, I can't see any of the city at all. Like it's just green dots. And I remember picking one, and I was standing on the Charles Bridge, which is a pretty famous location in Prague. And I'm like, all right, what's the adventure? And it was basically like standing here, like, what's the name of the building, northeast? And it was multiple choice. And I'm like, all right, I was standing with somebody who's from Prague, and they're like, oh, that's the name. And I'm like, well, that was a little easy, and sort of got, 5 fines for not really doing all that much.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And it's one of the interesting, when we're talking about like what are some of the challenges, I've got a challenge that we can discuss, but generally, like, okay, so what is the relative value of those fines? I think people look at things in a variety of ways. I have done caches where it's a 4-hour experience, and you're hiking through the woods outside of Frankfurt with headlamps and like looking for puzzles and using FRS radios and all this work, and you get a find.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, here I am on the Charles Bridge and I'm doing not a lot of work. Okay, I'm here, I went somewhere, but I get 5 fines. And then you could also look at, well, there's folks who are going to go to the ET highway, and in one day they're going to drive down a road just swapping cash containers, stamping a book, and they're going to get 1,000 fines or 2,000 fines in a couple of days. And so I think a big question for everybody is like, what's the value of a fine? Like, where do you want to draw the line? And I think, like with most things relating to geocaching, there's a lot of like individual discretion there. Some people will say, well, I hate power trails, those aren't real fines. And other people will say like, sure they are, like it's how I like to cache. And some other people will say like, I don't want to do anything that doesn't have X number of favorites, it's not worth my time. Okay, that's cool. I had a conversation with a few people where I directly asked them, in France 2 weeks ago, like, we know that there are some areas. There's Adventure Lab GeoArt. Go figure. Like, I guess I'm not surprised. None of us should be surprised. The
Genius.
community's pretty creative.
Absolutely genius.
And, I mean, okay, so what are they doing? They're not hard adventure labs to do. People are able to go out and do a full day experience and rack up. Is it 1,000 points? Is it 200 points? What's the relative effort? Like, how do we want to get involved as a company? And so that's an interesting question that we have to solve. And I can tell you, there's an active discussion here going on about that. And one of the questions is, should we require that the answer to the Adventure Lab be present at the location? Should we require that, it can't be trivia, or it can be trivia, or the answer has to be related to the content that's presented? So, if you're doing a science, if you're doing a mathematical story, well then, asking what kind of tree it is standing next to you, it's not even related to the story. What is that worth? And so one of the analogies or metaphors, I can't tell the difference sometimes, somebody had said, like, do you remember the original, hopefully it doesn't date us all, like in the olden days, like a pinball machine, you would have like 4 digits, and the highest score you could get was 9,999, and then the board would flip over. And it was like, all right, that's how people played pinball. And you're like, I got 500, like I'm good at this machine, whatever. And you look now and you hit a bumper and you get that many points, and people are walking away from machines that are good, and they're like, I got 1.2 billion on this machine. And so it's almost like there's this inflation, but on an individual level, does it make it worse? Does it make it better? At the end of the day, I think everybody has to ask themselves, with geocaching in general, with Adventure Lab, how do I want to play? What's important to me? Because there's so much variety that there is no one way to play. And I think that's a healthy part of the game, in fact. And so, I had this conversation with some folks in France, and I was like, what do you think of, there's this thing, it's called, in Belgium, it's called the atomium, and maybe you've seen pictures. It looks like a big molecule. I mean, it's enormous. There's stairs that go up to the top. It's these huge balls and whatever. And they did a geo art in that area that looks like the atomium. I don't know, if it's got to be at least 100 adventures. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but when I look at the map, that's what it looks like. And people will say, I've gone there and I've sat and I've done 100 adventures, and they're proud of themselves. They're happy. It's like, hey, I did this. This was fun for me. And other people will say, well, that's not cool. Like, that discounts the value of what I do.
Mhm.
And it's like, what point is there in drawing comparisons when there's so much variety in the game? So one of the things we're trying to figure out is like, what, if anything, do we need to do with those types of experiences? So for example, we could stop them, but then we're taking away an aspect of the game that people are enjoying. Are we trying to preserve the value of a find? I mean, that ship's kind of sailed with the first
Right.
power trail in a way, like it
Mhm.
and so on the other hand, we're a location-based game. We want to get people outside. We want to get people going and doing things. So is it enough to get people to go to one location as opposed to 5 locations for 5 finds? I don't know. I'm not really sure. But what I heard from some of the folks that I talked to was like, when I first saw this, I really thought like, this isn't cool. Like, this isn't geocaching. And to be fair, like, it's not geocaching. It's not exactly geocaching. It's something a little bit different. And then what I heard was, but now I actually like it. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to these places, and it's not a geocaching experience where I'm looking for a box and being challenged in that way. It's a different type of experience where I'm going to a location and I'm like collecting some points. I'm doing some things that are a little bit different, and I'm having fun. And it's like, all right, well, if you're having fun, do we need to change it? Is it so inconsistent with our mission as a company of getting people outside and having them do stuff that we would stop this group of people who's now enjoying it? This is the kind of thing that we have to consider from time to time, because I can tell you, go to the Facebook and Adventure Lab groups, and they're having that discussion right now, like, hey, I think GSM Scott basically said, he's like, hey, Bryan's in favor of this is a location-based game. Our goal is to keep people moving. But at the end of the day, putting, let's say, couch logging aside, which we know happens, there's GPS spoofers and things like that, that's a separate problem. But putting couch logging aside, if people are actually going to a location, well, go to the ET highway and you can get 5 caches in 10 minutes, without doing any amount of significant work. And so I think for us, it's about trying to decide, like, how do we draw the line, and how do we recognize when we don't have to draw a line, and at least for me, one of the principles is like, if you see that a lot of people are enjoying playing a certain way, well, then maybe we don't ban that certain way, but maybe we find a way, a solution, for example, for the people who say, I really hate these kind of adventures. I don't know, maybe we can come up with some sort of a filtering way, or a way to say, like, don't show me these, and of course we'd have to categorize them, and there's work to be done. But if the only solution would turn it off or keep it on, I'd be personally reluctant to turn off anything that's bringing people joy who are just playing the game sort of in a way that we may not have originally intended. But take a look at geocaching. I mean, very little of that is the way that it was sort of originally defined, but like the community's creativity and passion and engagement has really defined how that platform has transformed. And I think that we can allow some of that, if not most of that, to happen with Adventure Lab. And so that's kind of how we're looking at the platform now, and really just looking to see if there's something that we're doing that's going to make it hard for the next player to come in and find their enjoyment in the platform. That's something we really have to look at. But it's like, if it's not really hurting anybody, then how much do we really need to do? Like, let the people play the game that they're enjoying. And if somebody's like, oh, but it makes my finds look, like they're, oh, they have 10,000 finds, but it's all Adventure Labs, and I only have 1,000, but I've got real caches. It's like, all right,
they
buddy,
don't get
like,
smileys on the map. They don't get DT grids. So I mean,
depends how you play. Yeah,
depends on how you play.
And that goes throughout the entire ecosystem.
So then, that being said, is it time to create proximity circles on ad labs so areas are not blanketed and find counts are out of control?
I don't think. I'll say I don't know that that's the right solution at this point in time. I think what I would personally like to see is us find a better way to highlight the really good content. And even, it's right now we have a rating system, and I'm sure you guys have seen it. It's very rare for something to be like below 4 stars. Because people are nice, thankfully look at how fortunate we are. We got a nice bunch of folks in this community all over the world. And so people are genuinely kind. But what that means is, like, if everything's 4.5 stars, nothing's 4.5 stars. So I think, with 60,000+ adventurers worldwide, maybe not immediately, but in the not too distant future, we're going to have to figure out a way to really highlight the best content, or not just the best content. There's all these themes for adventures. You've got the foodie tour, you've got a hometown tour, you've got all the themes. If there was a way for people to say, hey, this is an area I'm passionate about, show me the best content for this type of experience that's nearby, and by the way, I want it to be 30 minutes or less, or whatever some of the other metadata or parameters might be, giving people the ability to kind of self-select the content that they're interested in. And I'll give you an example. It's far from directly related, but if you think about YouTube as a media platform, YouTube's got, what do they get? Like 1 billion new videos every week uploaded to the platform. The amount of content that they have is absolutely overwhelming for any individual. But what they do is, through tools, they kind of figure out what you like, and then that's what they put in front of you. And if you want to search for something else, it works with their algorithm. We have neither the budget of YouTube nor the sort of the broad array of skills, but it's the same type of problem. With a location-based game, it's a little bit more nuanced because you're physically present in the location. But I think that rather than put limitations on the amount of content that could be created, I think we would rather give people the tools so that they can identify the kind of experiences that they're looking for. And imagine if you could put a filter that would take a city that has 250 adventures and just show you the 5 that you might be interested in. That would be a pretty good tool. And then we don't actually have to say no to the next creator who's like, oh, I have this really great idea, but there's something else there. We could say, look, if you have a really great idea, put it out there. And if the audience is looking for it, we're going to make sure that they see it. Or the audience may, at some point, just say, hey, we actually like this one better. So when the next new user comes in, which one do we decide to show them? Do we show them both? Do we show them the best one? Do we suppress the 1-star rated adventure? It's got 10 people have done it. They're saying it can't be completed, or if they've completed it, this is terrible. Nobody should ever have to do this. Well, we could probably do a better job of not putting that in front of people. So there's dialogue that's going on. Even today, I had a conversation with one of our lead engineers about how do we solve this problem. But I think having proximity guidelines for Adventure Lab is really not a solution that we're considering at this point, and my preference would be to not have to.
Oh,
But
filtering.
we've got to do.
Filtering is more.
I mean, filtering would absolutely help.
You're starting it now. You guys are starting to get the what are they called?
Featured listings.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like different kind of listings. Like you get to pick which kind it is. You know. Just
Oh,
seems like
that's themes. So we also
seems
just
like you're starting
released.
with that. Yeah, like
We are. It's sort of segmenting the content.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is a step in the right direction. We just released, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and it's really just a test. I think we're doing it in North America. There's probably 5 adventure labs that are basically featured listings. They look different on the map. It's like a purplish star pin, and they really stand out. And, right now, these are business development partnerships that we're working on, and they have to have, what we believe to be a certain quality level. So we've got a program that we've done with the Smithsonian, for example, out in DC, and their Smithsonian Castle is currently closed for repairs, and it's going to be a few years. But what they're doing is they're using Adventure Lab as a way to deliver sort of Smithsonian related educational content to people outside of the Smithsonian. So you could be walking around on the Washington Mall and having a Smithsonian like experience. And so that's something where, if you look at the map in DC, there's quite a few adventures there. But for us and for the benefit of players, we want to say like, hey, by the way, check this one out. This is, it's been kind of vetted. Right now, it's only for sort of business development partnerships. There's very, very few of them. Again, we don't want to have every other pin be purple because it's no longer special. So it's a test that we're doing. You may see them on the map. There's really only a few of them right now. Maybe it's North America. There might be some in Canada. I actually don't remember.
What is the odds? My one complaint with, I think my only complaint with Adventure Labs is that I don't get an email when someone finds my adventure.
What are the odds of us fixing that? I would
say I was thinking into it. I was curious.
Well, I'll tell you. I think it's a shortcoming of the platform that we don't do that, and we're going to fix it.
Oh, yay!
Perfect.
We're going to fix it.
Good answer.
Yeah.
I gotta show the.
Oh, you got
there you go.
Purple ones
Chad is showing his phone, and he's got purple dots. That's what he's got.
for
There you go.
some of the adventure
those
labs around the mall.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, those are going to be the Smithsonian ones,
Oh, interesting.
which is pretty cool. It's
That's
a way
cool.
when you're looking at the map. Especially imagine as a new user, you come to the platform and it's like, oh, I just heard about this. Like, it's overwhelming to see all the dots, and you feel like, oh, what is this? Oh, this is Smithsonian. That's interesting. If that's their first experience, well, it's more likely that they'll come back and try another one. And there's plenty of good content. But again, we can only solve that for sort of select content. How do we solve it on a broader scale so that, a new player or a player that's interested in a particular type of experience can find what they're looking for without having to work too hard? I think that that would be an improvement to the platform, and that's something that, inevitably we have to solve.
Question in the
Travel
chat room
bugs
about
being
adding
attached.
travel bugs attached to Adventure Labs. That coming anytime soon. I can't imagine that's gonna.
I don't even know how we would do
How
that.
would you do that?
They're
Yeah.
separate.
It's
They're
virtual.
separate systems, right?
They're separate systems, but even from a practical standpoint, combining the physical with the virtual.
I want to move past Adventure Labs because there's other things to discuss in this. Real quickly though, last thing, like Adventure Lab it's a very different game than geocaching. It's same, but it's different. But yet you have to have a geocaching account to be an Adventure Lab person. I think. I don't know. I'm logged into both.
Yep, it's correct.
Is there any plans? Because it's a very different game that people like someone like might want to play that, but not geocache. Is there any thoughts of pulling it apart? Whereas you can have an Adventure Lab. So somebody like my kid could get an Adventure Labbing account, but not have a geocaching account.
I don't think we're going to pull it apart.
No.
I really don't anytime soon. I think that there's, we look at it sort of as a Venn diagram with quite a bit in the middle. But I think that you can create an account in the Adventure Lab app.
Oh, can
So-
you can.
So yeah, you can download the Adventure Lab app, and you can create an account and go play without ever having to visit geocaching.com.
Interesting. Okay, good to know.
And I think we even need to do a better job of that, because like right now, there's no premium features in Adventure Lab. I personally have aspirations of changing that over time, and if we do that, well, then there's no way to buy a premium membership in the app also. So it's disjointed and jointed, if that's the right way of saying it, but they're closely tied. I think there's work that we can do on statistics. Some people have created separate Adventure Lab accounts because they don't want to, corrupt, so to speak, their geocaching stats.
Sure.
That's okay. Again,
Yeah, I believe it. Yes, I absolutely.
so
Okay.
there's some, the really cool thing about Adventure Lab and even geocaching is like, there's still so much opportunity to improve those platforms, to make them better, to make them more engaging. And yeah, it's a fun place to be.
And so if you create an account on Adventure Labs, and does it automatically create a geocaching account? Is that what happens?
It's the same account database.
The same
Yes.
account, okay.
You have a geocaching account as well. They're used for both. And they'll work for waymarking also. If you want to go
Right.
play waymarking.
Right, yeah,
I don't know if you can create an account in waymarking. It's interesting. For many years, we didn't pay a lot of attention to waymarking. It was like, hey, we built it because we thought it was cool, and we just let it sort of run. But there's some passionate waymarkers who have really picked it up lately, even at HQ. And so the primary engineer who built the platform is still here for almost 19 years now. And, he'll come in on a Monday and he's like, so I spent a little time on the weekend and I fixed this and I added this and I fixed this. And so there's, it's not formal development taking place, but there's development taking place. And, short story is the account works. It's sort of, we always thought of it as like a Groundspeak account that would work across all of our platforms. We don't really talk about Groundspeak so much anymore, just because people were like, I don't understand the connection between Groundspeak and geocaching. So, all right, with Geocaching HQ, you have a geocaching account. It can be used for Adventure Lab. It can be used for basically any of our services. Same thing with the premium membership. Premium member features in waymarking are accessible to geocaching premium members. As we build out premium features in Adventure Lab, which I believe we will, those will be available to the premium members. So, increase the value of a premium membership isn't a bad thing for the people who are supporting us.
Fair enough. We got a call. We've got Iowa on the call. Hello, Iowa.
Hey, how you doing?
Hello.
Hello, Iowa.
These guys are going to be familiar with this. It's one of my complaints, but I've always been trying to find ways to have new cachers not put out caches until they, reach some criteria, which is never agreed upon. But could we, now that you're going to raise the cost of premium membership, why don't we now just say that you can only have a premium membership to put out a new cache?
So in order to put out a new cache, so only one. So you're saying only people with premium memberships could put out caches. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay.
I think just speaking to the second part of that question, I think it just goes against sort of our values for what we think geocaching should be. To say that we really don't want to be a pay to play game, and we recognize that hiding a cache is a critical component of the game. And I think that I don't think we would ever require a premium membership. Say that again. Sorry.
What?
I apologize. I think I talked over you. I apologize. Don't you want quality caches? Because I know FTF hounds, they see a cache put out by somebody with, 10 or less, and they just don't go for it because, you can't trust that is going to be, may not even be there. And the cords could be off and it could be, a really crappy container that isn't going to last, and it's sitting in a tree right next to a playground, and it's going to be gone the next day. There's got to be some sort. I mean, yeah, we want everybody to have fun, but I don't know. It's not fun.
Well, I can give you some anecdotes, because of course we've thought about this. We think about cache quality all the time. That's why we have the current maker promotion that's going on. It's why we incentivize the cache hiders that have sort of highly favorited caches. We will those are the folks that end up with virtuals in at least one of the algorithms, stuff like that. So I guess going back, again, we're not going to, of course, some people will definitely go for them as FTF hounds. We will not require people to pay in order to hide a cache. At the same time, we have had conversations about, should we have people find, you have to find 25 caches, you have to find 100 caches.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was some really interesting, I know plenty of people feel that we should. Let me share with you some really interesting behaviors. So one of the things we did is, I don't remember where in the app we had it, or in the, and maybe it was in the help center or FAQs or something. We said, like, if you're going to hide a cache, please find whatever the number was, 25 caches before you go and try and submit a cache. And so what people were doing, and not just one person, like a lot of new players were going, and they were just adding logs to 25 caches, figuring that we had some sort of a system to stop it, but they weren't logging caches that they found. They were just going on the map and logging absolutely anything they could just to hit the threshold so that we would allow them to have a cache. We didn't have sort of a threshold system to stop them, but even with them thinking that we were, they had a behavior that was also really inconsistent with cache owners having joy. They're like, these people are just logging my caches with, one word or an emoji, and they're not even finding it. They're not even in the logbook. Like, can't you make it so that, and it's, just, it maybe it solves one of the challenges, but it opens up some other challenges. So the way that we have chosen to try and address it is with education, incentivization, having the maker events where people can go and learn how to place good caches, having like, what is it? Bounce does the Geocaching Academy where, he's showing people how to make, hey, look at that. Yeah, he's showing people how to create really cool caches. I think that, that's kind of the angle that we're taking, is really focus on education. And at the end of the day, people who have 25 caches can still place a crappy cache. Some of it is subjective. There's no real way to prevent it, but I can tell you, like every geocacher out there, we all want better caches. We want caches to be better maintained. There are some opportunities there in terms of the maintenance and keeping caches in good condition that I can tell you we are considering sort of technical means by which to address that. But it's not going to be foolproof. You're going to find a crappy cache from time to time. Especially with 3.3 million of them out there. We've got some work to do.
Okay, the hour is getting late here, so we're going to try and hit some quick yes or no's or quick answers just so we can get everything. Are you ready?
Yep, go for it.
The lost and found attribute. You're killing us all on that. We can't complete the attributes. It was going to come up, Bryan. Come on. Hey, you're bringing back the lost and found attribute anytime soon.
I would say there's a chance. We're considering what we do, like celebration event, on the 10s, on the 5s, do we bring back that attribute? I'm not sure what we're going to do. We do not have a plan to bring it back now, but we know that it's that if the opportunity arises, we would definitely consider it, because we know there's plenty of not that old players that would really like to get that attribute. So
even some older ones.
Yeah, older ones.
Just missed it. Scott doesn't have it. I don't have it.
Yeah.
I know. We know that it means something to folks. And again, it's just a matter of trying to figure out, how do we do it in the right way? I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but we certainly haven't ruled it out as a possibility. It wouldn't feel fair to do that.
Okay. The augmented reality caches that came out in like 2019, dead, alive, still on hold, going anywhere?
I would say for all intents and purposes, right now they're dead.
Dead.
It was an experiment that we tried. I can't even begin to tell you how much time and effort we put into trying to make that work. And there's probably implementations that would have been a lot easier and might have worked, but we really tried to do it well. And we just ran into issue after issue after issue. And at some point we said, hey, we're spending so much time and resources on this. Let's move on. Let's do something different.
Mm-hmm.
The conversations come up from time to time. I would say, for anybody out there, like, it's not like we're never going to do something, but I don't anticipate us doing anything anytime soon.
And just for the official record, we cannot create one, correct? Because I know it's in the rules you can't use a third-party app. So you cannot currently create an AR app. An AR cache anymore.
Could you technically
sounds right, but
do a mystery cache that utilized AI in order to solve boards?
Because you would have to. An AR cache uses one of the third-party apps that the rules say
and half those apps are gone already. I mean,
Sure.
that we were using, that was part of the problem, is like, I think everybody was making efforts towards AR, and that's, there's not a lot of that happening right now. I mean, there's still some novel AR applications, absolutely, but those applications don't easily sort of intersect with what we're doing. And so we really weren't able to put it together in a way, we had an implementation that was, I don't want to say it was ready to go, but like, we ran into a wall at like 60%. We're like, all right, we really want to try this. We ran into another wall at 70%. We probably ran into another wall at 80%. And finally it's like, we're going to hit another wall. Like, how far do we really want to push this? And we made a formal decision. I think, we got a lot of opinions from people, and that just kind of died on the vine. And, while it may come back, it's not a plan. Cashlon, how about web-based AR, which is growing in standards and support? It's a possibility. We're not looking at it right now. There's other, what is it? Snap Lens has some really cool AR implementations. Again, like right now, there are a lot of things that the mobile team, the Adventure Lab team, and the web team, they are all focused on. And I would say, realistically, AR doesn't make the 12-month roadmap by any stretch. I'm not all that familiar with some of the AR, web AR implementations, but if somebody's got some ideas, feel free to send me an email and, point it out and say, hey, here's a link where you can see more of this. We'll definitely take a look, but it would take a lot to sort of jumpstart that type of program anytime soon.
KC11 says, I would love to see an option on the official GC app that allows you to filter for new caches published within the past 24 hours, 7 days, 30 days, etc.
Okay. I think that the need that you're talking about, so it's almost like I want to know when there's a new cache published within a certain area of me. If that's what I'm hearing, then I can tell you that, that's part of the dialogue here. Nothing coming very soon, but it is something that we're thinking about, is how do we do it? I don't know if it'll come in the form of a filter or something else, but we're aware of the desire for features like that.
Okay. Last 5 minutes. Can Bryan discuss any of those things he talked about earlier about the roadmap?
Oh,
they say we want spoilers right there.
I know. And believe me, like, I'm probably the number one person who wants to tell you all of the things that we're working on. But to be fair, for for all the people doing the work, like, they deserve their moment of like, hey, community, look at what we built for you. So I really don't want to give it away. As much as I do want to give it away, it's more important to me to sort of honor the work that the teams are doing. And I know that it would be lovely to hear some of the things coming soon, and it would be lovely to talk about it. But I'm going to try not to get myself in too much trouble with the lackeys. So I can only tell you that there's a really good bunch of folks who work here who care a whole lot about all of these platforms, and we're focused on making them better, and we're focused on doing it in such a way that makes all of you out there more inclined to go outside and have experiences that resonate with you and make everybody's lives better. That's the plan. And so there will be good things coming soon. I just can't spoil them.
All right, fair enough. All right, one more thing we always talk about on this show. We talk about favorite points. Okay, we talk about favorite points on the show. It's something like a forgotten child. It's one of those things it's never talked about anymore. But favorite points, Bryan. When are we going to be able to gift people favorite points?
I would say probably never. only because I mean, the way that we look at favorite points is favorite points are acquired through caching experience. And through caching experience, you get exposure to, let's say, the crappy caches like we talked about earlier, and the great caches. To have a favorite point in the hands of somebody who's not earning that experience presents the risk that that favorite point is assigned to something that might not be worthy of a favorite. And so by acquiring geocaching experience, we're saying, hey, we trust that you have more exposure and you can make a better informed decision on what should get a favorite point. So gifting them sort of undermines that philosophy or that approach. So probably never.
And we don't get favorite points for Adventure Labs, right? That doesn't happen. Right?
You do. You sure do.
You do.
If you and that's, it's an interesting switch in the economy, because each lab cache counts as a cache. So you go out and you do two 5-stage adventure labs, and you get a geocaching favorite point. And to some degree, it's already built like that, and undoing it or modifying that kind of economy would be a bit of work for our teams. Had I the foresight before we went out in this format, we might not have it that way. Because again, it sort of, not that it undermines it, but here you go. You could go do 10 5-stage adventures and come back with a whole lot of favorite points that you could go put on geocaches. You might not even, you might find one geocache a year, and that geocache is always going to get a favorite point because you've got an abundance and you can't use them on adventure labs.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good enough. All right, that's it, guys. Bryan, thank you so much for joining us tonight, buddy. Always a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah, good to talk to you guys, and thanks to your audience for chiming in and with the questions and stuff. And I look forward to doing it again sometime.
Okay, yeah, you stay right there, right? We're just going to close the show. I'm going to mute you again. Chad.
Sir.
Next week, Jessie not going to be on the show. She's going to be out of town.
I think we'll have a Jessie on the show.
We're going to have another Jessie on the show. I find it very interesting that Bryan's going to hear what I'm about to say right now. But next week's show, Chad, we all talk about where it goes. Some people love them. A lot of people hate them. So we're going to have somebody who absolutely loves them. Jessie Lunsford, Memphis Mafia, is coming on the show next week. The show is called Where I Goes, Convince Us. That's the show next week. So it's going to be a good fun show.
I love a good Where I Go.
And a good Where I Go debate.
I love a good
Where I Go debate.
Good Where I Go. About was it somewhere around 12 years ago when I found my first reverse Where I Go. I thought it was the best thing since sliced cake, just like the first time you lift a skirt. And then after that, it all goes downhill
really quickly. So that's next week's show. Where it Goes, Convince Us with Jessie Lunsford. Convince me otherwise. All right, Chad, thank you so much. Jessie, thank you so much. Bryan, thank you so much. Guys, we're going to close the show here. Please join us again every Wednesday night at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central as we stream live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and on our website, geocachingpodcast.com. The archive video versions of our podcasts are available on our website or on our YouTube channel, and the audio versions are available wherever you find your favorite podcast. If you like the show, please head on over to Apple Podcasts and rate, review, and subscribe. We really appreciate it, and it really helps the show when you do. If you prefer to watch the show, make sure you click that subscribe or get notified buttons to know exactly when we go live. And hey, if you haven't already, please consider becoming a patron of our show. With tiers starting as low as $5, you will get a ton of additional information, extra video, extra audio, only available to our patron members. Please head on over to patreon.com today and subscribe. That's patreon.com/The Geocaching Podcast. Thanks once again to our sponsors, Cachly, Logwork, FDF Geocacher Magazine, the Max Odds Body Company, Practical Geocaching, Art and Crafted, PatTags.com, Geocaching Adventures LLC, and GeoGo. Please visit our sponsors, and when you make a purchase, you tell them the GCPC sent you. That's all we got this week, so we'll see you next week talking geocaching, taking your phone calls. In the meantime, be good, be safe, hug your loved ones, and we'll talk to you guys next week. And we're clear. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We will talk to you guys next week. Be well and be safe. Bye-bye.